Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Aloha Friday, and welcome to the 30th edition of MVT Live. It's Devin Nikoba. I'm your host for the show, and without further ado, we're bringing on the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kip Wilborn, Executive Director for Window Valley Theater. Yay!
Aloha, Devin. How are you, my
How
friend?
are you, sir? It's good to see you.
You too. Yeah. Except that I feel like I spend my whole day looking at a computer screen with people's
I know,
faces
right?
on it,
I know. Well, luckily, most of the people are okay looking.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
And at least they groom a little bit because, yeah. What I worry about is we're going to do this show one day. The screen's going to come on and I'll have something in my nose or something, and you're just not going to tell me. And I'm going to do the whole show like that.
Well, they say, some people have got a face made for radio. So there you go.
This is true. This is definitely true for me.
What do you do? You host radio,
Thank
right?
you.
Oh, wait.
Thank you.
No
I do. I host radio every day, every damn day. Yeah. Anyway, sir. So what's new with Window Valley Theater?
Well, we had a good day today again on the cases. We were 91. But yesterday we had 10,000 people arrive here in the islands. So everybody be extra vigilant, take care of each other, show that aloha spirit. This is a big test to see if we get through this one. Okay. Mm-hmm. What else is new? Well, the Tony nominations came out, and it looks like Jagged Little Pill and Moulin Rouge and Tina pretty much dominated the musical side. And then Grand Horizons, The Inheritance, Slave Play, Seawall of Life, and The Sound Inside are the plays that are nominated. Usually at this time of the year, I'm saying, hey, how many of those have I seen? Right. Not this year.
So do you normally fly up to New York and try to catch a couple shows?
Yeah, I try to catch a few shows. Back in the day when I was working there, and I had so many friends and so many different shows, and awards would come up, and you'd say, "Gosh, I hope this person wins," and I'm so separated from it now. It seems like a lifetime ago. Oh my gosh!
Right. Oh,
but
man.
But so it's usually it was always Tony parties. That was always a big deal. Yeah. So cool. What else is going on? I'm happy to talk about that. MVT is going to be offering more and more digital content. We're really going to make a commitment to provide our audience with quite a bit of content through the fall, especially because we know what the situation is, and hopefully everybody will stay at home and watch our content and not be out. But no, but it's
you got that whole stage. I mean, you got a stage already.
Yeah, we essentially have a sound stage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what we're gonna do. So really excited about that. And we're gonna have concerts and things and comedy shows in our house. And if we can have a few people in the audience, great. If not, we'll stream it. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Very nice. Okay, looking forward to that. And if you want to help MVT get that done, please donate right there. See the thing that's going across? Make sure you donate there.
That's right. Donate. 988-731. Talk to Sarah. She'll take your money.
Actually, any of them will take your money. Good to see you too, sir. We'll talk to you in a little bit. All right?
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Awesome. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kip Wilborn, Executive Director for Window Valley Theater. All right, let's get this 30th show underway. We're very stoked to have on the show today our first guest, who is the General Director of Hawaii Opera Theater. Now, prior to joining the HOT team, he worked at the San Francisco Opera as the Director of Development. He's a tenor and stage director who has participated in over 50 opera productions in the San Francisco area. We welcome to MVT Live, Mr. Andrew Morgan.
Hello, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
By the way, it is although you are here with us in Hawaii, I feel like I'm close to you because I was born in San Francisco and then we moved to Hawaii. So you got me covered regardless.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Now, it's nice to have you on the show today. Can you give everybody a little bit of background on yourself, please?
Sure. I was born in Michigan, but grew up outside of Chicago. My mother was an amateur singer. My father was a huge fan of classical music, especially opera. So unfortunately, my fate was sealed at a very early age. I went to school for music. I have a bachelor's degree in music education, master's in vocal performance from University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. Right out of master's school, I got hired by the group Chanticleer to men's a cappella ensemble that travels around the world. That's what took me to San Francisco. Kind of, fate took me out of that group after a year, but I started working in their administrative offices and just kind of worked my way through in a lot of administrative positions at that. The executive director for another group in the San Francisco area, and then ultimately 11 years with San Francisco Opera in the development department. Now here.
Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. Now,
Yeah.
how do you make that jump from the arrangements you were doing with the Chanticleers to singing opera? Because it's, from what I understand, because I'm sorry, I don't understand opera as much as I probably should, but it's a different placement of your voice. It's a whole different kind of singing, correct?
Well, actually, that's part of the reason I only sang with them one season. My voice was a little just too big for the group. They have a very small sound, and so I need a larger hall to sing in. Not so much now. I'm in my 50s, and my voice is kind of retreading back to where it was. But and I just don't sing as much. But yeah, very different type of singing. But I was on stage from a very early age. I did musicals in middle school and high school, throughout college, doing operas, and so it was kind of my home plate. But I also have done a lot of choral singing in my life. Sang with the Chicago Symphony Chorus, the San Francisco Symphony Chorus. So did a lot of choral music in addition to the Chanticleer group.
I just, when you were talking about it, I just had this image in my head of like people standing next to you going, "Can we tell Andrew to just a little bit quieter?" Just a little bit quieter.
It was a little bit like that, yes.
So tell us how you got here to Hawaii and working with Hawaii Opera Theater.
So my husband and I have been coming here for over 15 years as tourists. We love the islands. We come here almost every single year. When a position at Hawaii Opera Theater came available, I just jumped at the chance. I knew I wanted to. I enjoyed fundraising work and development at San Francisco Opera, but I also knew I wanted something ultimately that took advantage of more of my musical and directing background. And so more of a general director position seemed to fit. I applied for it and I got it. So I came out here in May of last year, and I haven't regretted a minute of it since. I'm especially glad to be gone.
I'm sure your husband doesn't mind too. You're like, honey,
no,
we're moving to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's a horrible place to live. No. We're also not missing all the fires that California's having.
Oh my gosh, that's true. Hey, so tell me a little bit about your vision for Hawaii Opera Theater. Where do you see HOT going?
So, it's a company with a long history. We were founded in the early 1960s, as a matter of fact. Our first performance was in 1961. It was Madame on a Butterfly, which we were planning to do right now. We would have just wrapped up the performances. And it was under the auspices of the then Honolulu Symphony Orchestra. In around 1980, we split off into our own nonprofit organization and done over 160 performance productions over those years. But opera is a changing art form right now. It's something that you see around the country. Subscriptions are down, single tickets are down. People are moving away from it a little bit, except for the companies that are nimble and are starting to tell different stories. There are definitely an audience still for the Bohèmes and Butterflies and Carmens, but also the companies need to be telling stories that reflect the communities that they're serving and be more of a citizen of the community. It's not just presenting and they will come anymore. So you have to be a good community member. So that's a lot of my vision, is how the company can be more of Hawaii and not just in Hawaii. It's an organization that has been exploring that even before I got here, but it's definitely something I'm very passionate about. How can we tell stories that are relevant to the populations that are here? It's an extremely diverse population here, probably one of the most diverse areas in the country, if not the most diverse, and different diversity than you'll see in a lot of areas. Certainly, a lot of various Asian groups, but everything is here, and it's a big melting pot. And the hapa, it's a big mix of things, and so. How do we reflect that as a company? And it's not throwing the Carmens and the Butterflies out with the bathwater, but it's mixing them up with things that that are telling more contemporary stories, that are telling smaller stories, that are not just at the big Blaisdell, although we love that theater. But it's telling things in a different way. It's casting things in a different way. How are we making sure that the people that are on the stage and behind the scenes and in the pit at the orchestra and the orchestra is obviously the Hawaii Symphony, but the conductors and the directors, all of that are reflecting in the diversity of the community that we're serving. And it's not just a bunch of mainliners that coming in here to sing for the people that are here. That's going to be some aspect of that, but how do we really cultivate the talent that's here in everything that we're doing, not just the singing, but as I said, the stage hands and everything.
That sounds so great. So tell me, what's happening? I mean, with COVID, every theater company is dealing with it. How are you folks dealing with it?
Yeah, so we announced our 2021 season, which is our 60th, by the way, in February. And like 2 weeks later, we ended up having to cancel the April production of Salome we were supposed to do because of COVID. And it really wasn't long after that, the writing was on the wall that our 2021 season as a live entity would not be possible. Singing is a super spreading event, and so is wind playing. And so we're all kind of stuck in a lot of ways. You see Broadway shut down, the Met is shut down. I will say that we made our announcement before the Met did, but we're also a smaller company, so a little more nimble. But you know what? One of the things that we had to look at is how can we stay relevant? How can we stay in front of our audiences so that they don't forget us? Even with a year hiatus, it's hard to come back, right? And you're seeing with restaurants that are closing and just never coming back. How can we still be producing opera? And so we started a plan. The staff, absolutely every single staff member has been a part of these plans, and they really have all stepped up to be creative and inventive and pushing us forward in the digital media. And so that's what we're doing. Like Manoa Valley Theater, we are becoming a digital theater a digital producer of content. And so we've already had one opera released. It was Bon Appetit, one-act opera, a very short 22-minute opera based on an episode of Julia Child's The French Chef. It's very, very funny, starring local mezzo-soprano Sarah Lambert Connolly. And it's up on our Vimeo OTT site right now, but coming close on that heels, we have 6 other productions that are going to be streamed through now until May. And we're just seeing what we can do, and it's really it's kind of an R&D season for me. It's things that I don't. It's not just one-offs. These are things that I think we can continue doing even when we're back at Blaisdell and doing main stage performances. It's expanding our audience. Or it has the potential, anyways, and not just on the islands. That we can broadcast what Hawaii Opera Theater is around the world, which is very different point to be.
Plus, you're one of the few spaces you're one of the few companies that actually has a rehearsal space. Which, by the way, as a member of the cast of Allegiance, I have to thank you so much for allowing MVT to be there, because having a rehearsal space was gold. So thank you so much for that.
Oh yeah, of course.
I have to say that. Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, so I am an opera newbie. Okay, so my final question is: as an opera newbie, help me. Tell me what I need to go watch, because all I hear about is Valkyries and loud singing and all that, and like you were saying, some of that stuff can be a little bit hard to kind of entree into.
Sure.
So do you have any suggestions?
I would go look at and a lot of these things are streaming online, either through one of the major opera companies or just on YouTube. The big traditional ones are a great entry point. Bohème, very easy story to understand. It became the musical Rent. It's the same story. Madame Butterfly, Carmen, Marriage of Figaro, a Mozart piece that we did this last February. It's very approachable, very funny. And take it in bite-sized pieces. Don't feel like you have to sit through a whole 3-hour opera. Try an activist.
Thank you.
And I will say that all of the repertoire that we're doing in this digital season is 60 minutes and under. So you've got some little bite-sized pieces there too.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So
thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, we'll definitely do that. Andrew, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. From Hawaii Opera Theater. We'll bring you back and talk story, because there's still some more educating you need to give me on opera. Okay, I appreciate it.
Happy to help you out, Kevin. Mahalo.
All right, Andrew, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for stopping by. All right, don't forget, please, to donate to Hawaii Opera Theater, but also you can donate to Manoa Valley Theater at manoavalleytheater.com or call 988-6131. Our next guest is the executive director of the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra. See how that works? It's opera and symphony. They play together. There you go. Now, before coming to Hawaii, he was the executive director of the Haymarket Opera Company. He holds degrees from the University of Chicago, the Juilliard School, and Oberlin Conservatory of Music. We welcome to the show, Mr. Dave Moss. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Devin. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, no. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Okay, so how did we get you here?
Well, I think had it been a week later, you might not have. I came to Hawaii on March 10th. And quite literally, that was the week we shut down. That was the week that COVID set in. I was in the office for 5 days, and we sent the staff home. We all started working remotely on March 15th. So, in my first week, I did not expect to be canceling 5 weeks of the remainder of our season. Much like Andrew had just talked about, we were ready to launch. We had already launched our subscription series for this season, and the world changed beneath our feet. So, but the process of coming to Hawaii here started way back in November of last year, when the orchestra did a national search with a search committee for my position here. And the first time I came to Hawaii was in January for the interview process. Came back in February for the announcement, found a place to live in February, and then March, this became home.
And then March, you said, okay, so I'm not going anywhere for the time being, period.
This is it.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about Juilliard, because, Juilliard is such a, it's a name. If you went to Juilliard, everybody goes, oh my gosh. And I don't know, you seem like a normal guy.
Well, I always joked, I thought it was going to be just like the movies, Save the Last Dance, et cetera.
Right, yeah.
That's exactly the experience I had. No. Juilliard was a really wonderful place. I'm glad I went there when I did. I did my undergrad at Oberlin, as you mentioned, and Oberlin was this little conservatory of music at a liberal arts college in.
I actually applied there. I actually applied there and didn't get into that school, so I'm jealous already. When you said Oberlin, so
Well, have you visited Oberlin? No, that's the question.
No, I did not.
Okay, so it's just a college in this small town, and while I was there, it was 4 years of really tremendous hard work, because there were no distractions. And I was a violist at the time, and still play a little bit now, but I was there, and there was nothing to do outside the practice room. And so I really spent hours and hours, that 10,000 hours line about, learning your instrument and that craft. And so by the time I was able to go to Juilliard and be in New York, I was at a level where I could really grow as a musician and not just as a technician. And so the experience, of being there, and, the places that my colleagues that have gone that I was in school with is so impressive. And to have known them back when, and to now, being in this position with the orchestra, getting to see a lot of those people come in as soloists, other people who were in the orchestra, it was quite the experience. And the thing about New York, and I know Kip can speak on this as well, is that everyone comes to New York when they're at their very best. When you go play Carnegie Hall, you are sounding the best you ever had in your career. And living there, you were always held to that same high level of performance. And so there was this thing that you had to maintain yourself with the entire time you were there. But then also, I think about all the performances that I was exposed to at the Met and with New York Phil and of course Carnegie Hall, and the real fun stuff like going to the underground jazz clubs and that side of things. That is a different experience in music. So yeah, it was a trip.
That's amazing. So I guess for me, like if you've got a kid from Hawaii who plays viola, who plays cello or whatever, would you recommend to always go away to try to make your way in New York for a little bit to test your mettle?
That's an interesting question. I've got a very dear friend who grew up here. We went to Oberlin together. She spent some time in New York, was a violist, and is just doing wonderful things with her career currently. And it's that I think it is important. I grew up in Chicago, so it was a big music scene as well. But I think it is important to kind of expose yourself to that. I think everyone should live in New York for about 16 months. And then it's time to get out.
Just to make it through at least one winter, you mean?
Yeah. It's not even so much the winter, just the pace of life. All of those things that you're exposed to there. And then that way, when you come live someplace like Hawaii, you have that balance. You get the other side of things. You learn how to relax. You learn how to have a good time. You learn how to really enjoy life. But you have that work ethic of not just the 9 to 5, but the 6 to 8:30. So,
or however long it takes to play.
Yeah.
I had another question also as well. With regards to becoming the executive director and doing that. I mean, obviously your own history with your instrument helps you, but I mean, how do you translate that to an entire orchestra? I've always wondered about that, to get that experience and take what you know personally of your own instrument and then have to expand it to somebody who, plays bassoon or whatever. I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. What my transition was very unique in that I was the kid in the back of the viola section who always thought I knew how to run an organization better than the people doing it. And I had this little chip on my shoulder, and it's come back to bite me a number of times, and it's great. But what I ended up happy is I said to myself, I'm not sure I can do this. The lifestyle of a musician is very difficult. The last thing I did as a real player was I was subbing on Broadway shows in Chicago. So I was playing 7-8 shows a week, and it's really hard for family life. It's hard, just to balance everything. And so I ended up thinking I was going to leave music, and actually went and got my MBA in finance and economics at the University of Chicago, and thought that I was going to go into something completely different, go into the finance world, and then support the organizations in a different way, be involved with the arts, board member, et cetera. And I kept getting pulled back into the arts and culture. I was still playing a little bit while I was in school. And then there was a young organization that I got to be a part of, and had this really, there's this spark you get on stage, the performer's high, I like to call it. And I found that on the other side of things, when I was creating work for musicians, when I was creating community for an organization through the arts, that I was getting that performance high. It's Friday afternoons. I call donors and say, thank you for supporting the Hawaii Symphony. And, that connection has replaced that performance high of being on stage for me.
Oh, wow. That's actually kind of cool. Neat.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll ask you the same question I was asking Andrew. I mean, with the COVID thing, what happens? What is the symphony doing?
So it's certainly been a challenge, to say the least, for all of us here. And what the conversation that we first had when this all set in is, we are a nonprofit. We are a mission-driven organization, and our mission is to provide music, education, entertainment, purpose for our community. And we as an organization, and with our board and with our musicians, said, what can we do? How do we keep going forward here? And we were in a really great conversation with another nonprofit partner here, the Hawaii Theater Center, and they were going through this same conversation as well. And we decided that we as an organization needed to become a media company. And fortunately, the theater we've been working with had to become a production company. And I know you've been to the stage there quite recently, and it has been turned into quite literally a sound stage. This has allowed us to maintain our mission of providing live music and on-demand music for our community in whatever ways are safe. And the safety aspect of it is a little different with instruments, because string players, they can wear masks. We physically distance them by 6 feet, but we then have woodwind players and brass as well. And we've been very slow to bring them back. Because if you look at all the there's never been so many scientific studies on how much saliva the flute, for instance, projects when they're playing. And so we have all these wonderful videos now from all of these scientific people showing exactly what happens to flute and clarinet and French horn. And suddenly we have to take all of that into consideration. And, I think that until we get testing that's adequate so that we know when people are coming into a space, if they have COVID or, some sort of vaccine, this is going to be what our future is for the coming months or years at that. But despite the challenges, we knew we had to keep performing. We knew that we had to find a way. And so we've launched our Sounds of Resilience program, which started back in September, and we did 2 weeks, and we had over 12,000 people tune in to those. And we decided, we needed to keep going. And so we've launched 3 more. We're doing one here October 31st with a Halloween themed event. And then in November, we'll do a performance right before the Thanksgiving holiday, right before, the night before, I believe, or the night after, the big fundraiser coming up here for MBT, I believe. And then in December, we will be doing another performance called Sounds of the Season. So we've found a way. These are live performances. We charge tickets for them. They are not free. And so we're trying to find a way to move forward. And again, like Andrew just said, even when we return to live performances, we must continue doing this. We must adapt in case we find ourselves here again. And, what's been the most rewarding is to get messages from people who are tuning in from Kauai or the Big Island, and their messages say, I've always wanted to hear the HSO live, and I can't get on a plane and come. And to me, as an organization that's mission driven, we're now serving all of Hawaii, and we don't have to leave the stage at Hawaii Theater Center to do so.
Very cool. Okay, so one real quick question. I know I asked Andrew the same sort of question, but okay, so if I'm not a classical music person, I've never listened to it, I go, oh. What is your entree song? What is your beginner song? What's the level 1 song that you would recommend to somebody to listen to where they go, oh yeah, you need an orchestra for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I will tell you, I was in a meeting a couple weeks ago. We were courting a board member. And so I had a couple of my current board members with me, and I said, their jaws all, I think, hit the floor. I don't care if you like Beethoven. It's not my job as an orchestra to make you like Beethoven. My job is to use the symphony, to use the orchestra to connect with whatever music, whatever type of engagement, to be reflective of the music that a community is interested and likes. And to me, that's I don't have a classical music hit list that will woo you into loving Beethoven. I've got my personal favorites, but they're off the charts things. They're Bruch Concerto for viola and clarinet. I mean, these are things that that necessarily aren't going to bring you in, because I think that music is something that's very personal. But I do know that the power of the symphony, the power of 88 people on stage, all doing different things combined to make one beautiful experience, to me is really, really what makes it worthwhile and why we do it.
That's cool. That's a great answer. No, and I agree. If you've sat in front of an orchestra and listened to them play something, anything, the power that comes from that singular sound is just it doesn't matter. You're right. It almost doesn't matter what you play. You can be warming up and they go, wow, yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff.
Absolutely.
Dave, thank you so much for this time with me, or this time with us. We appreciate it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for continuing to work to make the music come alive and be there for people. We really do appreciate it. Stay right here, because we're going to bring Andrew back, and then I'd like to bring Kip back on as well. There we go. And hey guys, hi.
Hey, that was fantastic, guys. It was kind of amazing. It kind of made me nostalgic. I felt like I was back in my home world. Andrew, I made my San Francisco debut in 91.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
the opera was Don Quixote.
Oh yeah,
Sam Raimi was playing the Dawn, and yeah, it was a great fun.
My heart. That must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was great fun, and then it's just great to hear this. I just warmed my heart, both of you guys. It was a fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, and
Pleasure.
we're
and please make sure you go and check them out. Hawaii Symphony Orchestra, Hawaii Opera Theater. They're doing stuff. They're doing stuff, not just us. So please go support them. Yeah,
check them out and make donations there. All of the arts need your support because we're all in the same boat. And I really appreciate, Andrew, you're an inspiration to me, how you pivoted, and Dave as well. And thank you so much for the time we spent together and kind of commiserated. And, we're going to get through this. We're one day closer to it being over.
That's right.
Certainly.
Well said.
Let's hope so. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And gentlemen, thank you very much for dressing up for our 30th edition of MVT Live. I appreciate it. I'm glad I wore my Aloha shirt because Dave in his jacket's making me feel really underdressed.
Dave, you're in Hawaii now.
I know.
Right?
I know, dude. Come on, man.
We need to get some of these, Dave.
I thought it's like kind of a dress down blazer even. I thought I really was, we'll get there.
See,
those
Juilliard Wharton School guys, I'm telling you, man, they're just,
been there, done that. It is what it is. You'll get over it, Dave.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get you some Aloha shirts soon, Dave. Don't you worry.
All right.
On behalf of Dave and Andrew and Kip, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This is a very special edition of MVT Live, and we're so thankful that you guys are doing what you're doing. I can't thank you enough for keeping the music alive. So mahalo for that.
Thank you.
All right. Mahalo, guys.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you.